Good morning, Professor Atanasio. I'm Caleb Sharp, and my media presentation is on the moral considerations of private prisons, or more specifically, the most recent incarnation of them made in the 1980s. And here it is. So, before I get into the main course of this project, I first want to talk about some background information about the modern incarnation of private prisons. Uh, so these were ushered in during the Reagan administration due to one, the war on drugs, which he really ramped up, Reagan, which led to an increased amount of federal drug charges due to a lower tolerance for drug use in the nation at the time. And two, because the Reagan administrations want to privatize parts of the government just to make it more efficient, because that's what Republicans do. And this led to the current amount of incarceration in private prisons, which last year was 1,333,000, which is 8.4% of the entire U.S. prison population. But I did find one thing very interesting back from the Obama administration, where the Department of Justice said they were going to stop using private prisons because they were less safe and secure than the public counterparts. But then after that, Obama turned around and signed a very large major contract with CCA, which, along with GEO, is one of the two largest private prison contracting companies in America. But more relevantly, what that does mean is that this is a very heated topic, and obviously not everyone's going to agree on it, and maybe there isn't a right answer, but we're going to try and maybe see if we can dig into that a little bit and see the two sides of it. So let's get started. So first we're going to start with the arguments against private prisons. The big one being they're less safe than public prisons. I believe inmate on inmate assaults are about 50% more, and inmate on guard assaults are up as well. Not to mention things like rapes, sexual assaults, robberies, negligence just in the system itself. Some real gross stuff goes down, and that's a very large argument against it. There's also lower levels of officer training in private prisons. Their corrections officers are legally required to do 58 fewer hours of training than their same counterparts in the public system, and that leads to a turnover rate of about triple times that of the public system as well. So, one of the largest talking points for private prisons is that it's supposed to keep the costs down, and that's obviously good for us American taxpayers, because we don't want prisoners, these people that have broken the social contract and went out and screwed someone else over, taking up my money that could be going to do something that's helping me. So, but the issue with that is, because of how politicized this issue is, different groups count money different ways and add different things that other groups would not add to that. So it's really hard to say if it actually keeps costs down or if it actually costs more. But it looks like it breaks even in a lot of cases, or about even. So I'm just going to call that there and move on to the next argument. There's also an argument made that because of the population issues in a lot of places like California and prisons, private prisons help control the population, which is true, and it creates jobs in the area, because you bring in a massive facility, you need cooks and caretakers and cleaners and cops and all of that. So that's also true. It is good for the economy of the local area. But now let's actually move on to the moral considerations. Alright, so now onto the moral considerations of this issue. The first big one. Are we okay with outsourcing justice to private companies? We don't have private judges, we don't have private courts, we don't have private police. Why do we have private prisons? Seems a little suspect to me. But the next argument against it is should we have this in place in a way that incentivizes legislators to push for more people in prison, specifically to keep their donors happy, the people who run these prisons. And it also helps with re-election, because if you can get a massive complex in your district, then that's jobs for thousands of people, economic opportunities, growth, your economy's looking good. The arguments for private prisons pretty much boil down to they're criminals who broke the social contract and now they're paying the price. Who cares if it's Jeff Bezos or Congress that gets to lock them up? It's the price you pay for breaking the law, and frankly, why should the American citizenry really care what happens to the criminals? Because you did what you did, and now you're paying the price that you knew was going to happen. So, the real moral argument of the issue comes down to, do we value the rights of inmates and the separation of justice and the private economy? Or do we value punitive justice and putting people in their place for wrongdoing? Now, part of this project did not ask me for my opinion on it, but I'm the one doing it, so I'm gonna put my opinion in it. I think private prisons are like a moral abomination. Like, it's gross. People get raped and stabbed for like drug offenses, and like 400,000 people ICE sends there, like illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants. It's a gross system, and money and justice don't match. Anyway, Dr. Atanasio, that's my performance / TED talk on the moral considerations of private prisons. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. I'll see you in class, sir.